Welcome to a new deep dive. Today we're exploring a document titled Pray to Buddha, which comes from a Bani Spirit of Buddha's Practice Incorporated. Let's write. Located in Darwin, Australia and dated the end of May 2025. And this document, it offers a really specific perspective, doesn't it, on the power of prayer to the Buddha? Yes. Specifically focusing on how prayer might connect to, well, some really tough challenges in spiritual practice. Things like eliminating deep afflictions, karmic habits, things that feel really ingrained. Exactly, and it also touches on protecting, the process of one's own spiritual cultivation, which can feel quite fragile sometimes. Okay, let's really dig into this then. It seems like it's tackling two sort of fundamental questions. First, does the Buddha actually have the ability, the capacity to help us with these deep-seated issues, negative patterns, habits, right? The really stubborn stuff. And the document directly asserts, yes, that capacity exists. Okay. And the second question which follows naturally if the capacity is there. Well, how do you actually connect? How do you receive that help? How does it become real for you in your practice? Yeah, exactly. How does it make a difference? Precisely. So, the document, it lays out a case for the Buddhist capability and then it offers a method, a specific way it says for you to connect to that power. Alright. So, starting with that first big one, can the Buddha really help? The document says emphatically, yes. All Buddhists can help eliminate these things. Strong claim. Very strong. Yeah. And it doesn't just state it leans on established Buddhist scriptures for support. Okay. Which scriptures? Well, one of the main references it points to is the Great Spacious Buddha Flower Adornment Sutra. The Flower Adornment Sutra. Huge text. What does this document pull from it specifically? It uses this really striking analogy comparing the Buddha's wisdom to great winds. Winds. Yeah. Cosmic winds. Like it mentions a disintegrating wind that can destroy worlds, cosmically speaking, but also an obstructing wind that protects other worlds. Okay, destructive and protective forces like winds. How does that relate to Buddha's wisdom? So, the analogy is that the Buddha also has this great wisdom wind and this wind, it has different aspects, different functions. A great wisdom wind. Okay, tell me more. What aspect? It highlights two from the sutra. First, there's an eliminating wind. Sounds powerful. It is. It's described as being able to clear away afflictions and habits. But the document notes this is mainly for let's say advanced practitioners, great bodhisattvas, right? People far along the path, people with immense cultivation already. Yeah. But then crucially there's the second aspect, the skillful sustaining wind. Skillful sustaining, that sounds gentler. It does. And it's protective. It's described as protecting those bodhisattvas. And you could infer maybe any practitioner whose spiritual roots aren't fully mature yet. Protecting them from what? Well, it seems to prevent that powerful eliminating wind from cutting off all their afflictions too soon. Wait, why would getting rid of problems too soon be bad? That's a great question. The implication seems to be that for someone whose foundation isn't totally solid, wiping away everything negative all at once could be great destabilizing. Or overwhelming perhaps. Exactly, so the skillful sustaining wind suggests a more supportive process is needed earlier on. It sustained you while you build capacity. That's fascinating. So the help is kind of dynamically adjusted to where you are. That's what it suggests. It's not one size fits all. Are there other sources mentioned? Yes. It also brings in a quote, a more concise one from the Sutra on the Mind-Ground Contemplation of the Mahayana Birth. Okay. What does that one say? It quotes, "May all Buddhas bestow their protection, capable of eliminating all wrong minds. Capable of eliminating all wrong minds. Pretty direct, very direct. Yeah. Supports the idea of removing negative mental states, those afflictions and habits. And it explicitly mentions protection again, which ties back to that skillful sustaining wind idea. Exactly. It reinforces both the power to clear and the power to protect. So summing up this first part, the document uses these scriptural references like the Flower Adornment Sutra's winds in this quote to establish that yes, the Buddhist power is there. It can eliminate issues, but it works in different ways tailored to you, and it includes protection. Right. The capacity is established. The can is there, so the next logical step is how. How do you access it? If this power exists, what's the mechanism? How do you tune in? Well, here it uses another analogy, a very modern one actually. Oh, it says the Buddha's merits and laws are omnipresent like television signals in the air. TV signals. Okay, that's relatable. Invisible, but potentially receivable. Exactly. They're everywhere all the time, always broadcasting. The key, it says, is entirely about whether you were willing to receive them. So, it's on us, our receptivity. That's the idea. Are you tuning into the Buddhist panel? The signal is there, but you need to tune your set. Okay. So, how do you tune in? Does it give instructions? It does. It provides a specific prayer for daily practice. This is presented as the way to make that connection, and is it that phrase we heard before? It is. Yes. The recommended prayer is may all Buddhas bestow their protection, capable of eliminating all wrong minds. So, the quote establishing the power is the prayer to access it. That's the mechanism described. Saying this daily with sincerity is how you try to tune that channel. Align yourself. Okay. And this tuning, this prayer. MHM. It can have different effects, you said, depending on your spiritual maturity. Yes. Two main effects. Depending on the strength of your roots of goodness, as the text puts it. Alright. Let's get into those two effects now. What's the first one? The first is for those with mature roots of goodness, advanced practitioners. When someone like that tunes in sincerely, the Buddhist can directly help clear away the afflictions and habits. So that's receiving the eliminating wind directly. That seems to be the implication. Yes. Direct powerful transformation for those ready for it. Okay. And what about, well, probably most of us, those whose roots aren't quite so mature, right? And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. For those whose roots are not yet mature, whose minds might not be perfectly on channel, may be prone to distraction. Yeah. What happens then? For them, the document says the Buddhas cannot directly help clear away the afflictions and habits themselves. Not at that stage. Wait, so praying doesn't automatically clear things up for everyone? Not the direct removal of the issues. No, not if the channel isn't tuned properly. You're getting static, maybe. Okay. However, this is key. This is where the Buddhist compassion comes in differently. The Buddhists use their power of aspiration, their unwavering will to help to add a crucial layer of protection. Protection like a shield. Even if you're not getting the main message. Exactly. Like a shield. It ensures that your existing roots of goodness, your potential for growth, your positive qualities aren't damaged while you're still developing. Why is protecting those roots so critical? The document really stresses this. Cultivation is hard. Building those roots takes effort and they're precious, but also easily destroyed. Destroyed by what? Primarily by diluted thoughts like negativity, wrong views, distractions. Yes. All that internal noise that pulls you off the channel, that undermines your practice. But it also highlights one specific state as particularly harmful. Which one? It warns quite pointedly that being ungrateful most easily destroys one's own roots of goodness. Ungrateful. Wow, that's specific. Why ungratefulness? Well, think about it. Ungratefulness is a kind of closed state, isn't it? It blocks you from seeing or appreciating the good, the support you are receiving. It's like actively refusing the signal, cutting yourself off. That makes sense. It's inherently unreceptive, a barrier you create yourself. Exactly. But right after that warning, it pivots back to the Buddha's vast and meticulous grace. It emphasizes that all Buddhas through their compassion and power of aspiration are constantly working to protect these fragile roots in sentient beings. So even if your tuning is poor, even if you're struggling with things like ungratefulness, that protective power is still there guarding your potential. That's the message. That protective shield is vital precisely because those roots are so vulnerable to our own minds. Okay, let me try and summarize this bit. Mature roots, good tuning. Direct clearing via prayer. Roots not mature, tuning shaky. Prayer connects you to the protective power of aspiration, guarding your potential, especially against things like ingratitude. That's a great summary. The help is constant, but its form adapts to your state. So, moving to the final part. What's the ultimate key here? What makes this connection actually work? It all comes back to resonance tuning correctly. Like the TV needs the right channel. You need resonance to receive the Buddha's merits. Right, if you can't achieve that clear resonance yet, then that protective shield from the power of aspiration is your essential support. It prevents you from backsliding while you work on improving your tuning. It buys you time and stability. Exactly. What if you do manage to tune in better? What if you resonate more clearly? Yeah. What happens then? The document states that Tathagata's wisdom, the Buddha's enlightened wisdom, is immeasurable, universally beneficial, and actually fully present within everyone. It's already inside of us, accessible within us. But, and here it uses that blunt language again. It says all ordinary fools clinging to their false thoughts are unaware and not willing to receive benefits. Ouch! Ordinary fools. Strong words. They are. But the point is stark. The block isn't external. It's internal. It's our cling to false thoughts, our attachments or delusions. That's what makes us unaware, unwilling. So, the signal is loud and clear, but our own minds are generating too much interference. That's the core diagnosis. And here's the promise that follows. If you can abandon those false thoughts, that clinging, if you let go of the interference, yes, and become truly willing, truly open to accept the blessings of protection, then the path to awakening to Bodhi becomes, it says, remarkably easy. Easy really after all the talk of difficulty, remarkably easy with timely assistance and support. The idea seems to be that once you remove the self-imposed barriers, the omnipresent help flows effortlessly. The struggle isn't against the path. It's against our own resistance. Remove the resistance and the support is just there. Okay. So this deep dive into Pray to Buddha, it lays out this framework. Buddha has the power backed by scripture. Power to clear issues and protect growth. This power is omnipresent like a signal. Always broadcasting. And prayer. That specific phrase is how you tune your receiver. Right. May all Buddhas bestow their protection, capable of eliminating all wrong minds, and the effect depends on your maturity. Direct help if you're ready in tune. Vital protection if you're not quite there yet. Protection particularly guarding those fragile roots of goodness against our own deluded thoughts, especially something like ungratefulness. And ultimately, the key isn't forcing something external, but working internally. Letting go of the clinging and false thoughts that block our reception. Exactly. The challenge and the solution lies within our own minds, our willingness to receive what's already offered. It's a powerful model combining the cosmic, the practical, and a very direct look at our own internal obstacles. The help is there, it suggests, just waiting for us to get out of our own way. Which leads to a really practical question for you, the listener, to maybe reflect on, if this perspective holds water, if the Buddha's wisdom and assistance are universally present, like signals in the air. Yeah. What specific false thought, what habitual clinging or maybe even what subtle feeling of ungratefulness might you be holding on to right now? What static might you be generating that's preventing you from tuning in more clearly and receiving that support?